Peace and power to you all, beautiful souls, and welcome back to yet another video. I hope that you have been well since last week, and as you know, I like to come on here every week and share messages of guidance. I like to use the cards, sometimes just intuitive messages that come through. And I like to use the cards as they give me a sense of anchoring to share what messages are really needed to be shared with the collective at this time. And so, of course, at the moment, my message focuses a lot on Kenya, especially with all that is happening at this time. And just, there are so many shifts that are happening all across the globe, but it is so interesting to see specifically what is happening here in Kenya. And, Kenya being my home that I love with all my heart. It is just very encouraging to see what is happening, but I will be honest that I have had a really difficult week. My week started off really, really sad just because I have been really tuning into the energies of everything that has been going on at the moment. And I have to be honest that I have been feeling so much sadness. I have been feeling so much grief. And this, I was already feeling so angry towards the fact that so many innocent lives were lost, so many young people who were simply just fighting for what is rightfully theirs lives would be ended so shortly and so abruptly. And I feel that I have really been tuning into the energies of the mothers that have lost the lives of their children. And it is so sad. And I feel that, the sadness has been here for a really long time. But in a sense, something has opened up. And many people are feeling this anger. Many people are feeling the rage towards the governments. And this is not only happening in Kenya, but happening across the globe. I have spoken to friends in Europe. I have spoken to friends in the US. I've spoken to friends who are in Asia. And these things are happening really across the board. And so really, again, people will want to label me a conspiracy theorist, and that is totally okay because I'm not here trying to convince you of anything. I'm simply here trying to help you open up your mind and to awaken to the reality of what is truly happening in this world. Remember, beautiful souls, that life is spiritual before it is physical. And many of us have been blinded because we cannot see through our first spiritual eye. And as a result, many of us have been guided in the wrong directions because we are being shown one thing, but the spiritual reality behind that thing is not what we are being shown. And again, this is why I constantly talk about having discernment. And discernment is very much connected to intuition and spirituality as well. And so it is important that we be developing our spiritual abilities, especially for those of us who are melanated. And I'm not only talking to Africans here, I'm talking to all people who are not non-melanated. And so again, race has played a massive role in the whole divide and conquer. And for me, who is half European and half African, I can tell you that I have experienced it both from the European side as well as the African side. And so these are just tactics to continue to divide us. But this is what is so beautiful to see about what the Gen Z started here in Kenya, because they don't give a shit about any of it. They are really the moral army that we have been waiting for, because over the years, what we have been seeing is just, there are no more morals. People have totally lost their morals. And, people have been saying, where is the church in all of this? And it's interesting because the church played such a massive role in getting Ruto into the presidency. And now the church is nowhere to be seen because the church is no longer spiritual. The church has been corrupted. And we can see this just by looking at the Vatican and the fact that, religions have played a great role across the board of history throughout the entire globe. But the fact that the Western nations still govern the world and that the Vatican seems to play such a major role. We see all kinds of politicians from all kinds of countries coming to kiss the ring of the Vatican. And what does this mean? Well, the Vatican is really at the top of it all. And the Vatican are the ones who have lied to us across the board, because through colonization, they were able to colonize through spirituality, because the Africans were such a godly people. the Africans were so deeply connected to the spirits and to the non-physical realm. But what colonization brought was false teachings of Christianity. And as a result, the devil and all its demons and all its armies and all its different forms have entered the church since way back when. Because when we look back to, I think it was the Templars or the killings that were made in the name of God and in the name of the church, this is absolute bullshit, I'm sorry to say. The church unfortunately teaches people that God is always loving and kind. But remember, there are two sides to every story, and even more than that, because we are all multifaceted. And remember, God, whichever God you want to talk to, I am talking about the Most High, the one supreme creator. And now, unfortunately, many of the gods that people are worshipping today are the false gods. These are the devils in disguise, but these are not the gods that I and the Most High are. Because really, the Vatican was infiltrated by the devil and its demons long, long time ago. And the sooner people get that in their head and accept that, the sooner people will be able to see past the veil of illusion. Because what is interesting, what most people don't realize, is that religion is also very much connected to magic. It is connected both to lesser magic, and it is connected also to black magic. And people can say whatever they want about this, and that's okay. I'm really not here to try and convince you. I'm here to tell you things that you probably don't want to know, or probably are not even aware of and would like to know. But the church has put us through a veil of illusion, because if you think about it, the Bible was already corrupted before it came to the African continent. And this is why because Africa is the Garden of Eden. Africa holds the resources that feed the entire world. And this is why Africans have been dumbed down. And the way in which they were dumbed down was through the false teachings of the false Bible that was changed. The Bible was changed on countless accounts. And of course, the Bible was changed to suit those who were going to use the Bible as a weapon. But now if we go to the Ethiopian Bible, the true Bible, where none of the books were taken out, the Bible that shows clearly even what the colonizers came to do, because we have to remember that we have been brainwashed using so many different tactics. We are being brainwashed by the church, by the education system, by the governance system, by the health system, by the TV shows, by the music, by the artists that people seem to adore. Everything serves to corrupt us. In last week's videos, I highlighted how the system is a deeply Luciferian system, and it is a false system. It's, for example, when you look at writing in the mirror, or for example, when I show you these cards and the writing is back to front, it is because it is giving you a mirror image. So it looks identical, but unless there is writing, you wouldn't be able to see that it is a reflected image. And that is the reality of the world that we are living in. We are living in a reflected image of the reality of the world that the Most High created. And the only way that we can get out of this veil of illusion, this hypnotic state that the whole world seems to be in, so that we cannot see what is directly in front of us. And this is why we go on a spiritual journey, because the more we heal our individual wounds, the more we open up to be able to see with clarity. And this is why I come on here every week to share messages that will help you to clear out those cobwebs, to clear out those hypnotic states that so many of us, especially on the African continent, find ourselves in. And we have to undo the teachings, we have to undo the spells that have been cast against us. And the sooner we realize that when we unite as a people, when we realize that skin color has nothing to do with it. Since we're on the topic of race, yes, it's important that the Caucasians in the Western world accept that they have only benefited because the Africans and the melanated suffer. And this is across the board, because if you think back through history, this has been a colonization of an indigenous way of life since as far back as we can remember. And it's just that now it happens to be that the second round of colonization is coming for Africa, because Africa is huge. Africa is actually the biggest continent, because even our maps lie to us about the reality of the world. And so, of course, they couldn't colonize Africa back then. But it's also important to remember that African spirituality played a massive role in the African Revolution way back when, in the Mau Mau Revolution that happened back then. Because as much as we were outnumbered, and these colonizers came with their guns and they came with their weapons, but still the African people won. How? How did they win? It is because they were connected to the ancestral spirits. They were connected to the power of the elements. The Africans have been lied to and made to believe that their ways are wrong, that they are practicing witchcraft and pagan cultures, but that is the way of the African. That is the way of African spirituality, to be connected to the elements, to be connected to the spirits of our ancestors. It is the most natural way. But we have been lied to and been taught to believe that our ways are wrong and the only way is to go through the church, which is quite honestly bullshit. Because the question is how can we who were oppressed, how can we worship the same God that our oppressors worshipped? It does not make sense. We have to go back to our traditional ways. We have to remember the power of our melanin. We have to remember the power of our spirituality. You know, I question all the time because here down on the coast, it is known that these Mwarabus are very, very powerful in their magic. And so I constantly question because through all the different tribes across the African continent, these African spiritualists exist and they hold great, great power. But my question is, why do these people continue to use their power to oppress their brothers and sisters who are not the ones oppressing them? Why do they not use that power to go against those who truly oppress them? Where is the power? Where is the good? Where is the good of these people? Because it seems that they are using their power for wrong. And so we have to remember that when we choose to use our power for the right reasons, our power just becomes stronger. But we have been taught to fear our power. We are scared of our melanin. We are scared of our brothers and sisters. We are scared of each other because we are scared to rise. We are scared to succeed because within us we have the scarcity mindset and we have to break free. And so this war is very much spiritual. It is mental and it is emotional. And many of us have been broken and the darkness is attacking us on all forms. And I too have suffered a dark attack because at the beginning of this week, my beautiful, beloved little dog, my beloved, beloved princess who I loved so, so deeply and who taught me unconditional love on a way that I never thought was possible because I had closed out my heart so much. But this dog came into my world and she taught me so much about love. And she was brutally, brutally attacked at the beginning of this week and did not make it. And remember, we have to understand the enemy that we are fighting. We have to understand that we are fighting against darkness. Those of us who hold light and purity in our heart, we cannot understand the darkness against which we are fighting. And this is why parts of the Bible are true, because they have to tell us the reality. The powers that are falling and the powers that were, they understand spiritual information on a much higher level than we do. And the sooner that we realize that spiritual power dominates material power, spiritual power is what controls this material realm. And so the way that we can start to shift this material realm is by shifting our mentality, is by shifting our emotions, because our emotions are what set our spiritual power first and foremost. And so, yes, I have been broken this week. I have found myself feeling rage towards God. I have found myself questioning why. What is the point of it all? Why? Why do we come here to suffer so much? Why do the same people suffer over and over? But the Bible says clearly that in the end days, those people who truly have God in their heart will be the ones to suffer most. And the reason why those people with love in their heart will suffer the most is because they will be able to see the darkness all around us. It is unfortunate that so many people choose to close their eyes to the darkness and say, oh, these are all conspiracy theories. Yet these things are happening blatantly, openly for everyone to see. So if people are still choosing to ignore the reality of what is happening, then I will tell you very, very clearly that you are the enemy. You are the enemy of God, and you are the enemy of the people who are here to fight for God and to fight for the righteous ways moving forward. Because if you choose to pretend that nothing happened and you say, oh, I'm going to be neutral, I'm not taking a stand, or you're thinking that this doesn't concern you and you're doing nothing about it, then you are the problem, my friend. You are the enemy, because they say that the way for evil to fully infiltrate is for good men to stand by and do nothing. People question how the Second World War happened and how all these things happened, and people accepted. How did these things happen? It's because people chose to stand back and say nothing. They chose to say back and do nothing. We are at a time where now action is needed more than anything. It is time for us to take action. And there are many ways in which we can take action, but we all need to be questioning, how are we fighting for a better tomorrow? Because even those people who think that the things that are happening do not concern them, I can tell you that the war that we are fighting is truly spiritual. And remember, God sees all. So if you're going to sit back and pretend that this doesn't concern you and that you're a good person and that you're doing your best, but actually you're not really a good person, that you can stand by and accept the atrocities of what are happening around the world, that you can be someone who is of privilege and that you will not do things to help others, then you are the biggest problem of all. Because it is our duty to help those that have less than ours. If we were gifted the privilege to be in a position of privilege in this life, it is because God chose to put us there. The Most High chose to put us there, and the Most High can take us down off that pedestal very, very quickly. Remember, this is the year of karma. This is the year we have seen many truths being shown. And as this saga continues to play out, not only in Kenya, but across the board, we are seeing how many people, the reality of their behavior is coming into question. People are starting to see the reality of many people, that people were being worshipped. All these false prophets in the names of politicians, artists, influencers, all these people who have had influence over others and have been using their platform, not to do anything that is of positive value to the world. I can tell you, my friends, that your time is coming and you too shall fall. So you are being given the opportunity to do something of value. You are being given the opportunity to get on the right side of this spiritual war, because I can tell you very clearly that if you are not on the right side, your time is limited and you too shall fall. So the first card we have, pulling from the African goddess cards, I asked what are the spirits that are guiding us in this reading today? And the first message that came through was Medusa with the number 5. The numerology of 5 is all about change. And the message that Medusa brings is rage. And we can see that there is rage all across the planet. Rage is building. And remember, rage is truly cathartic. So in the Indian teachings, they talk about the goddess Kali, or Kali, I don't know how you really pronounce it. But Kali comes in many different forms, and she is called the destroyer. And right now, the rage that we are feeling, especially the rage of the younger generations, because there is no hope for them looking forward, they use this rage, they channel this rage to do something positive. They used their rage and they peacefully protested. Unfortunately, this is where we're now starting to see these divide and conquer tactics starting to come through, because they are trying to divide the movement. Because remember, when we are peaceful, they cannot do anything. The powers that rule our governments and our countries, they only know terror, they only know war, they only know savagery. But we, the people who are of good heart and of pure mind, we are able to use our rage to channel it to do something good. So we must continue using our rage to channel this rage, to keep applying pressure on all the highest levels of government. Because we, the people, not only in Kenya, but across the board, we have had enough of this nonsense. Because even within the spiritual realms, you have to remember that the people who control this world, they are also after spiritual power. And this is why many of us ask, why, where is God? Why are good people continuing to suffer? It is because they are controlling us in the spiritual realms. We have to free the spiritual realms, and the way in which we free the spiritual realms is to level up mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And interesting, this transitions us to the next card, where the next power that we have, the next goddess we have sitting over this reading is Queen Ya Asentewa. Level up. I believe that this is from Ghana. And the numerology here is 39, bringing us to a 3, which is all about creation and communication. And so, yes, we are leveling up and we are creating a new world. We are communicating about the world that we want, because now that we, the people, have revolted and we have said we no longer want this, we have to start thinking about what it is that we do want. If we are toppling this government, if we are saying that we want this government to go, yes, okay, we are getting rid of something, but we have to have something to fill that space once that thing has been removed, because otherwise false things can come in and take over that space. And this is how spiritual warfare works. So we have to be aware of the tactics, the manipulation, and the psychological tactics that are being used to weaken us mentally, spiritually. We think that we hold no power, but we have seen that when we all hold the same enemy, look at the things that are possible. Look at the things that we are capable of doing. Look at the change that we are capable of creating, because all of us are playing a role in what is happening at this time. We all have something to do, because our energy plays a part. All of us who energetically take a stand and we say no, we refuse for this system to continue. We will no longer abide by these rules. We will no longer comply. If everybody just decided that they would no longer pay their taxes, I can tell you the government would wake up real fast. Because in this world, what talks? Money talks. Money is what is making the decisions. So if we decided to use our money in the right ways, if we decided to prioritize in which ways we are using our currency, our financial currency, as well as our energetic currency, if we decided to apply our focus only on the things that matter, and we stopped giving the governments the airtime that they needed in order to continue existing, because if we all stopped complying, if we all just said, if every single Kenyan, if every single citizen of this world said, we are no longer going to pay taxes, the governments would listen. So start thinking about the different ways in which you can use your spiritual power to start making change. Because protesting, yes, is one thing, but there are other ways in which we can bring the system down. Use your spiritual power. All of you out there, especially those of you who are intuitives, who are light workers, star seeds, who are indigenous witch doctors, whatever. Use your power to bring this system down. The next card we have is chaos and conflict. And the numerology we have here is 33. Remembering that the master number 33 is the master teacher. This was the master teacher of Yeshua, because he brought teachings. Now, I'm not going to go too much into what Jesus Christ was, but I really wanted to relate to it about Christ consciousness, which is what is awakening within us. They're talking about the spiritual awakening of all people. And this is happening because Christ consciousness is reawakening. We are remembering what it means to operate from our hearts, to operate from a place of love and compassion as opposed to hatred. Because there is so much hatred in this world. And if we chose to use that hatred, to channel that hatred, to do something good, let us not hate one another. It really makes me angry. For me, where I feel the rage is that when we were having these protests on Tuesday, people here in Ukunda, rather than actually protesting and going against the companies that belong to people who are actually benefiting from keeping people in slavery, they decided to loot and to go and start looting and burning small kiosks of people who already have nothing. Why? Why must you go and beat down your brothers and sisters, who are the ones who will most likely be the ones to help you in a time of crisis, as opposed to going against the system? Remember, people, the system is our enemy. We have all been taught over the years to hate one another for tribe, for race, for country, for whatever, for gender, for whatever nonsense that they keep using to divide and conquer us. But really, the enemy is the system. And the sooner we realize that, the sooner we start paying attention to how the system works and how to start understanding our enemy that we are fighting, except for fighting each other, then things will shift really, really quickly. So, yes, we are going through a time of chaos and conflict because we are seeing the fall of a system. And this system has been in power for thousands and thousands of years. Essentially, the system has been in power since the fall of Adam and Eve. And that is what the Bible is trying to tell us, that when this false knowledge came in, when we were corrupted, when we were hypnotized into believing the wrong things, because belief has a lot to do with it. Remember, I talk about often the placebo effect, and that the placebo effect has the ability to not only heal people of horrendous, sorry, I wanted to say horrific and terrific, of horrendous diseases just through the power of their beliefs. Then think about what your beliefs are doing. Your beliefs are what are creating this system. So start questioning your beliefs and start questioning why you believe the things you do, and whether you are believing these things because other people told you to believe them or because you believe them for your own choice. Remember, you are more powerful than you realize. Every single human being on this planet is here for a reason. We all have a different energy and we all have a part to play. The sooner you start to awaken to your true purpose, and now your purpose is not being a police or a politician or anything like that, which is what we have taught, is just being you, being in love, being in compassion, helping people where you can. If you're in a position to help anyone, no matter how small that help is, do it. We have to start supporting one another, because we are fighting against a system that is trying to oppress us. And if we do not fight now, the oppression will just get stronger and stronger. So the next card we have, so interesting, because the Master 33 is realizing that the great teacher lives within each and every one of us. Because when we ask the right questions, the right answers come. But we are all looking at the world through a false lens. So start shifting the way at which you look at the world and start saying that yes, you do have a role to play, and start asking, how can I help in better shifting this world? How can I help in making a positive difference in the world? And it might start really small, and it doesn't matter, because we start with what is happening right around us. Because if we all served the community right around us, then things would change immediately. It's that we think that we have to help things on the other side of the planet when we can just focus on changing small things that are directly around us. So the next card we have here is not for you, and the numerology is 6. So if we break down 33, we get 6, and 6 is the number of harmony. 6 is the number of the divine feminine. So interesting here, the the imagery is quite interesting, because if we look at the powers that be, which go deeply into Freemasonry, the checkerboard floors appears quite regularly within their symbology, and this is because they are all about dualism. And as you can see here, there's the chessboard, because really what we see is that the world is controlled is one massive chessboard. The whole world is really a stage. And the powers that are controlling the world have nothing to do with governments in different countries. They control the money. And so these are the global systems, such as the World Bank and the IMF and the World Economic Forum and the UN, and these massive organizations which literally have the ability to control the whole world. And so what is happening is that what we are seeing, or what we are saying, is that the system is not for you. They talk about the mark of the beast 666, and no one really knows what this represents. And I don't want to go too much into this, because obviously there's a lot that I cannot say because of the censoring that is happening on all these different platforms. But essentially, I'll just say what happened in 2020, really more in 2021, let's say, what happened as a response to the virus that was taking place. that has a lot to do with the mark of the beast. And we're moving more and more into it. Technology also plays a massive role. And really, if you look into the UN sustainability goals and what the World Economic Forum is pushing and what um, the World Health Organization is pushing, go and research what these people are pushing this, because this has a lot to do with what is happening at this time. And this system is not for you, the people. So the sooner we realize that everything that is being pushed at the higher levels of government today and at the higher levels of corporations, because we have to remember that it is the corporations that rule the world. So when we start to pay attention more to what the corporations are doing, and remembering that the governments are at the bid and calling of the corporations through the form of lobbying, you will soon realize that none of this is for you, the people. You are just a pawn. And you see here, we are the pawns. And as soon as we say nope, because that is what this is saying, absolutely no, we will no longer play these chess games. We will no longer be pawns on this chess game, because what most people don't realize is that they are pawns in a game of chess, and yet they don't even realize that there is a game going on. So all the people who still think that life is going on fairy and dandy as usual, the new people really need to wake the fuck up, because you really are the biggest problem. Not realizing that because your thoughts and the way that you interact with the world is actually what is continuing to control the system. So the sooner you wake up and you start questioning how you are actively playing a part in the system, unless you wake up and say, I will no longer unconsciously be a part of the system. So we all need to wake up. So the next card that we have here is regeneration. Yes, and this really makes me think of the tree of life, which was burnt down, is now starting to resurrect. And this is what I was saying in last week's video, Africa rising. This is what we are seeing. The dead Africa is starting to rise again. And really the power of Africa are her people, because within each and every one of Africa's people is a spiritual power, the power of the melanin, which has the ability to connect us to the spiritual realms and all the power that resides there. Because remember, what we see is not what we get. There are so many things that we do not see which are totally controlling our reality. And the sooner we start to question, if we all start engaging with the world and asking with everything that appears in front of us, start asking the question, what am I not seeing? What is behind this? What am I not seeing with clarity? What is being hidden from me? The answers will start to come. Because when we question, when we ask the universe to bring us responses, the universe will always comply. Remember, ask and you shall receive. But up until now, we have all been asking the wrong questions. And then the numerology, which is 46, comes down to a 1, which is all about new beginnings. So yes, we are in the process of regenerating to create a new Africa. So all across the board in Africa, we should all be asking ourselves really clearly, what is the Africa we want to see? And I highly recommend all of you out there who are interacting with this video, go and write down on paper, what is the future you see for the world? What is the future that you desire for the world? Because the more that we anchor it in, the more we go and we tell the universe, this is what I want to see, and we hold on to that vision, the more people are tuning into a better vision for Africa and the world at large. We are literally anchoring it in, because remember, our beliefs create the reality. Up until now, as Africa, we have all believed that we are worthless pieces of shit, because that is what the whole world continues to tell us day in and day out, continuously telling you, you are less than, you are less than, you are less than, you are less than. And everybody who is not fully melanated, I can tell you for a fact that you are contributing to the system. So you need to start asking yourself also, where are you oppressing the fully melanated? And you might be doing this unconsciously. And I can tell you, for me, who was half African, I realized that I was so fucking racist, and that I was hiding behind my white side, because for a long time I didn't believe that I could call myself an African woman, because for the longest time people in Africa would always say, weni mzungu, basically saying that I have no right to call myself an African because I have European blood within me. Well, I can tell you, we have all been programmed to look down on the fully melanated. So that also goes from melanated brother and sister to melanated brother and sister. We are constantly oppressing each other. But when you wake up to realize that The true power of this world resides within your melanin. When you go and you realize the true history of Africa and Al Kebulan, you will realize that our people were fucking powerful. And the sooner we realize the power that runs through our blood by connecting to the true ancestors of this continent, the sooner we will be able to tap into our true power. The next card we have is the Mist. Trust your inner compass, be led from within. Yes, trust your intuition. Trust the messages coming from the ancestors. Trust the messages that you are getting through nature. Trust the messages that are coming through to you in dreams, in prayer, in meditation, because now spiritual power is the only power that truly, truly matters. The next card we have is making waves. Momentum is building. It's your time. Achievement. Yes, remember I said last week the message I got, Africa rising. We are all part of the rising of Africa. And even those people who are not African are part of the rising of Africa in the way that they interact with people on this continent. And not only on this continent, but people in the diaspora. People who are not treating people from the African continent or people who have melanin in their blood, if these people are not being treated equally as the Caucasians and the whites and their privilege that they have in this world, then you are a problem and you seriously need to check yourself. So yes, there is a massive awakening happening at this time, and you can either ride the wave and get somewhere good, or you can basically be drowned by this wave. So the next card we have is 29, soul loss. Yes, beautiful souls. We are going through a time of serious soul loss. And so there is a lot of death that is happening all around us at this time. And it is also important to realize that what is happening is that this earth is literally moving into a higher frequency. And no one really knows what that means. Anyone who will tell you that they know what is happening in this world is lying to you. Nobody knows what is happening. All of us who are spiritual, we are getting messages, we are getting intuitions, we are only getting a small piece of what is happening because no one really knows what is happening. And at this time, because remember, we are all vibrating at a certain frequency. And some people will not be able to shift into the earth at this higher frequency in the current body that they are in. And therefore, those souls are passing on. And remember that reincarnation is just the reality. So no being actually truly dies. Yes, they leave their physical vessel so that they can come back in another physical form. And they can come back in a more powerful spiritual form. Because all the experiences that we have in this world are constantly bogging us down, and bringing us down in our frequency. This is why children are so much more tapped in than us, because they haven't had all the brainwashing from the system than we have as adults. And so for those of you who are experiencing the loss of loved ones, I know that this is hard, and this is very, 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 very sad. And so for those of us who are going through periods of grief and mourning, it is so important that you allow yourself to feel the loss of those souls, because they may be lost to you in this physical realm, but they are not lost to you in the spiritual realm. Their spirit is always with you. And that's why the more spiritual power you have, the more tapped in you are. And it's interesting because for me, who was not very spiritual before, after I was not very connected to my parents when they were alive, but I can tell you after they passed away and the more I got connected to my spiritual power, my parents have actually been more close to me and more useful to me dead than alive. And I know that that is crazy to say, but sometimes spirits are more powerful to us in the spirit world than in the physical world. And so take time to grieve, take time to experience your loss, because it is important that we honor our feelings, and it is important to honor the things that we are experiencing, and it is important to honor our emotions. And so again, the numerology here is an 11, and 11 being a deeply spiritual number, which is the gateway to spiritual power. And so the loss of that soul is basically opening a gateway for you to experience something new. It is opening up the experience for you to connect with them on a spiritual level, therefore opening up your spiritual power. But so yes, don't be shocked that there is a lot of life happening at this time. But these are also contracted, these are also souls, these are also contracts that were made by these souls that they would re-enter the earth in a new body because they did not have the right vibration, a high enough vibration to be able to experience the shift in a physical body. So the next card we have is balance. And again, we come to a 3, and remembering that within each and every one of us there are two sides. Remember, we have feminine and masculine qualities. We have the right brain and the left brain. We are all two sides. This very much comes back to the yin and the yang. We are fire and water, and so we have to honor both of these sides of ourselves. We have to honor the sadness, but we must also honor the rage. We must honor the stillness, but we must also honor the action, and make sure that we are always in balance. Make sure that we are not too much in one side or in one aspect of ourselves, because remember, we are multifaceted human beings. And so it is important that we experience every facet of who we really are. It is important that we experience both the light and the darkness. And so, many of us have been told, especially those of us who are on this spiritual journey, and I really want to stay away from like the woke movement, because the woke movement is not the true spirituality. These are people who have been taught a lot of false spiritual teachings, and they're only getting one half of the information. And so this is really to people who like to always say, oh, love and light, and pretend that everything is good. No, we have to look at the darkness. We have to engage with the darkness, but that also means our darkness. It is so important that we look at the shadow aspects of ourselves, because really what is happening in 2024 is that we are seeing the shadow aspects of people on a higher scale. Those people who have been governing our worlds, those people who have been people of influence, we are really now starting to see their shadow aspects come out. We are seeing the shadow aspects of the governments, we are seeing shadow aspects of corporations, we are seeing the shadow aspects of this matrix system in which we live. And so it is so important that we be aware of both sides of the coin. This is why I constantly talk about having discernment. The next card we have is ceremony, and the numerology here is 5. Yes, it is so important that we be engaging in spiritual ceremonies at this time. Now, these spiritual ceremonies can look very differently. These can be ceremonies that take place as a group. These can be ceremonies that you have within yourself. And really, these ceremonies, for me, the word that comes through to me very clearly when I look at this card is self-care and self-love. It is so important that, as for those of us who are intuitive and we are really tuning into all these energies that are taking place at this time, it is really difficult because there is a lot of sadness, there is a lot of grief, there is a lot of mourning, there is a lot of rage, there is a lot of anger. There are a lot of emotions in the collective that are really needing to be cleared out. And so it is so important that you take the time to be with yourself, to just question, how are you feeling? What is your emotional state of being? What do you need in this moment in order to get through the next day? Because we are living through difficult times, and the turbulence and the challenges are just going to continue to get rockier for some time. And so it is really important that we build mental fortitude and emotional strength to be able to get us through these times. Because this warfare that we are experiencing is not like what was experienced in World War I and World War II, but this is spiritual and psychological warfare. So we really have to be aware as to what we are taking in, what information we are taking in, and remembering that there is a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? There is a lot of oh gosh, the word has totally slipped me, but there is a lot of messages that come through that your subconscious mind is picking up on. So it is really important that you keep taking time to clear out what is coming through your subconscious mind that you are not aware of. Taking spiritual baths is a really, really great way of doing this, or just cleansing yourself with smoke. So using incense or using things like Palo Santo or sage or rosemary or whatever you feel called to, just using smoke to cleanse your aura, using water to cleanse your aura. The next card we have is another 5 here. That's 5 fives that we've had on the table. 555 being major, major change. And the next card we have is Warrior Woman. Yes, the more you do these self-care ceremonies, the more you tap into your Warrior Woman. And this also goes for the men out there, because this is really about, when I think about warrior women, it makes me think of the mother, what mothers would not do for their children. And so when we tap into that love, and really if we look closely, it's all about the heart here. And how when she taps into her heart, when we tap into the power of our heart, we can do incredible things. And just like we've seen these these people, all these things, all these Gen Zs who are using technology to do incredible things, to expose these politicians and to expose what is really going on, and to educate people. I really, for me, who is totally untech savvy and so tech adverse, I have to say that, I am so proud of the younger generations who actually know how to make use of technology in a way that can really serve we the people. And that is also very much what the age of Aquarius is about using technology to benefit the larger generations. Then the next card we have is plant seeds. Numerology being 19, which brings us back to a 1. And so, yes, I really love the saying, they buried us, but they didn't know that we were seeds. And so, yes, not realizing that the consciousness that resides, the awareness and consciousness that resides in each and every one of you out there is a seed. You are planting a seed for the new earth, for the new Africa, for the new system in which we want to be living. What is the seed that you are creating? What is the seed that you are planting? Because at this time, everything that you think, everything that you do, everybody that you engage with should be planting a seed for something beautiful and better, is what I was trying to say there. And so really it is about, I like to say, be intentional about being intentional. When you start being intentional about everything that you do, be, think, then your whole life becomes a moving prayer. So what is it that you are creating? How are you planting a seed for something better to be birthed? The next card we have is Wise One. Grow within your current situation. Yes, we are at a time of deep spiritual growth. And, unfortunately, most people get comfortable in their comfort zone, that they don't want to move. And so what has happened is that most of humanity has gotten stuck within their comfort zone. Most of us got comfortable and accepted the system, as it were. But no more, because now that we are being pushed, this is what is happening, is that we are being pushed so that we say no, so that we no longer comply. We have to realize that there is growth within our current situation. We cannot always stay here. Remember, beautiful souls, that the only constant in this world is change. So if you haven't changed in a little while, then you are stagnating. And remember, energy isn't supposed to stagnate. Energy is always moving within our body. Even when we are sitting still, there is movement happening within. Our blood is flowing, our blood is pumping. So whether you are aware of it or not, things are always moving. But you have to start to be part of that movement, or you get left behind, or you get caught in somebody else's current. So remember, you are a sovereign divine being that has the ability to choose with your energy. Are you choosing, or is your energy being used and manipulated against you? The next card we have is She-Wolf. Unleash the wild within. This really makes me think of the Warrior Woman card. It is the same thing within each and every one. And it's interesting that there's a lot of feminine energy on the table here. And that is because what we are seeing is the rise of the divine feminine. We are being asked to unleash the warrior within. We are being asked to unleash the power of the animal within, because within every human, we have animal nature, we have human nature, we have divine nature. So sometimes we need to use our animal nature for good. So let us use that animal nature. The animal nature is what pushes us. This is why when we, stress is bad when there's too much of it, but stress is also good because it helps us to identify that something is going on. We need to be aware. Let the stress of what is happening, let the conflict and the chaos of what is happening around us, let us use it to push us. Let us use that energy to create something better. Let us transmute this energy and create something beautiful. The next card we have is Earth, the numerology being 8. This is the year of 8. It is about coming back to the Earth. Listen to the Earth. The Earth is a being. This planet is home to us all, and she is very much alive, but we have forgotten how to listen to her, especially here on the African continent. It is so essential that we go back to the ways of the Earth. It surprises me when I see people who, especially here in Diani, where everyone is now buying up land. Excuse me. Apparently, something doesn't want me to talk about this. Where everyone is buying up land and all the properties are being subdivided into small quarter-acre plots. And you see people will build, or even on bigger properties where they will build, the house will take up the entire space of the property so that now you have no outdoor space. What is the point of living in a house if you're not even going to enjoy the outdoor space? So it's like the African people have, it's like they have been led to believe that nature is primitive and that nature should be looked down upon, when everything that we need to sustain ourselves now and tomorrow comes from nature. So once we start to remember that nature is here to support us, and when we support nature, nature supports us. So there is also karma. The way we treat the earth is the way the earth treats us. And so this is what is happening. When you start making yourself right with the earth, protecting the animals, protecting the plants, protecting the trees, no longer cutting down trees for nonsensical reasons, protecting everything, no longer littering and putting rubbish everywhere, and start being more thoughtful and mindful as to how we're consuming and what we're consuming. That also means how much meat that we are consuming, because we have to remember that the more meat we are consuming dead flesh. And people don't realize that when they consume meat, they are also absorbing the emotions of that animal. So if that animal was really badly treated before it was killed, you are absorbing all of that trauma. Think about that for a second. And last but not least, another 55. So all these fives you've been seeing on the table shows there is a lot of change that is happening. And so the card here that we have is taming the wind. Yes, we are in a time of revolution. And the revolution is that we are taming the winds. Remember, they say that Lucifer, that the devil, Satan, is the principality of the airs. And so we are starting to tame the beast. We are starting to tame the enemy. We are starting to understand the enemy so that we can tame the enemy. We can control the enemy. The more, we have been misguided so much about spiritual information. And this is why it is so important that we remember the information of our ancestors, that we commune with the ancestral spirits so they may guide us on this journey, and they may help us to fight our oppressors, that they may help us to come out as victors once again. So beautiful souls, if you resonate with this video, I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear what is going on in your reality, how you are dealing with everything that is taking place at this time. If you are receiving any spiritual messages or any downloads that you have received, I would love to hear from you. Please share your messages down below, and I look forward to hearing from you and seeing you in next week's video. Much love to you all, and may you stay in power. Blessings to you all.